Hey guys, this is probably going to be my first drugstore makeup haul, but since the lockdowns have opened, each brand has almost been coming out with such different and new products every week, and I had to really bring it all together, sit down, talk it out, and do a full-blown review. So here it is. Now, this may be a bit longer than my normal usual 5-minute reviews, so if you are going to be sitting here, might as well get a drink and enjoy yourself. Alright, so first and foremost, I have finished my base. So I am wearing the Glow Oasis pH Balancing Moisture Milk Toner. And this is not drugstore, but it still needs a shout out mainly because I have been enjoying it way too much, as you can see. Now, post this, I applied my Laura Geller Skin Perfecting Primer, which almost acts like a moisturizer plus primer to get that really nice and sticky base, so we can test out the first of the many releases this spring in drugstore makeup, which is this Rimmel London Kind and Free Moisturizing Skin Tint Foundation. Now, I did not test it in store, but this shade is 210 in Golden Beige and it retails for about $10. It's supposed to be infused with vitamin E and B5, and I did actually apply this just because I wanted to show on camera how it really sits on my skin even without any powder. Now, this is definitely not one of those drying foundation skin tints, but more like the oily ones, which is why after going in with this foundation skin tint, whatever that is, I had to really dry out my skin with this Joe Fresh blotting paper. Now, this is again drugstore, you may call that, but I have been using this for quite some time and it's really helpful to just throw in your bag and use it on the go, because I am one of those oily people who can't stop the oil seeping through my pores. So this is probably not the best foundation for me, but I do like a little bit of glow. So if you can really relax your oil and remove it with a blotting paper, then this is a great foundation or skin tint. Now, this one is a beautiful shade mainly for my skin tone. I didn't test it out in the drugstore, but it is probably the best skin shade that I have ever found in drugstore. So a shout out to Rimmel London for that. Now, it doesn't move a lot. It sticks really well. It's a little bit tacky, but if you use your blotting paper and just relax that oil, it looks beautiful. I'm already enjoying the skin shade. It's not the best coverage. You'll almost get a sheer coverage, but that is what I like in my foundation. I don't want to look like I've put on a lot of foundation. So on the go, I think this is a great shade and also a great skin tint. Next, I was able to get my hands on the Maybelline Super Stay Activewear Concealer, which is supposed to stay for 30 hours, and that is saying something. Now, I did get myself 2 shades, and seeing them in dim light of the Drug Mart, I assumed they would be a good fit for me. But silly enough, they are a few shades too light, and I only realized that when I reached back home. Unfortunately, I did not go back in, so we will have to make these work. And maybe the tone would not be the best, but at least we can judge the texture, the stay power, and also the quality. Now, let me say something, and these are just my thoughts. The best way to really test a makeup or its quality is to really try it on different skin tone, because then it doesn't really match well with the background, which is your skin, but you can really see the texture, the pigment really shine through, and you can see if it's really moving around too much. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise, but we'll have to see. Now, out of the 2 shades that I got, which is number 10 and number 11, just for those paler skin tones than me, just for you to know, 10 is a more cooler toned and 11 is a more warm toned shade. Now let's try and set these up with a beauty blender because the shade is a little bit too light. I want it to really sit in rather than stick out. So I'm gonna do right that and be back on camera. Ignoring the shade, I actually like the texture, the pigment, and the way it's sitting on my foundation. It's not even drying very quickly. If you see, it's not sitting too much in my lines or even cracking under my eyes. So I am loving it so far, even though the tone doesn't really sit well. But I am going to set this up with a little bit powder and also add a little bit blush because that was not part of our current releases. And I will be back. Now, did I go a little overboard with my blush? Yes, I did. But is that okay? Of course it is. So let's just move on to the next release that we have here, which is by Physicians Formula, and it's part of their new bread and butter collection. And from that, I have a bronzer and a highlighter. Now, the shades in the bronzer are basically, there are two available. There's Toasty and there's Baked. I have the one which is called Toasty, and it's the Murumuru Butter Bronzer. Now, this one I haven't opened up yet. It is part of their limited collection, the Freshly Baked Bread Inspired Bronzer. Now, that makes me hungry, but it is infused with the proprietary blend to deliver a rich, radiant glow. It's supposed to be incredibly creamy, a soft texture that combines the best features of a powder and a cream bronzer for a lit from within unlike any other. Now that sounds really interesting. So let's open these up, bring out our brushes and start the swirling. Okay, so to bring these out, I basically have to tear open the packaging. And please don't mind the sun because it's just starting to come out. So my face might start to look a little pale because of all the light. And I'll try and tone that down, but that's all you can do, right? The sun's out and it's a good day to go out. Alright, so here is the Bread and Butter Physicians Formula Bronzer. I'll just zoom that in so you can see. And this is the shade of the bronzer. The bronzer really opens up and there's a brush that you can really use, which just fell. Now I'm going to be swirling in this, see it right on camera. So it is a little light shade for my skin tone. I do enjoy a little bit more warm toned bronzer. So this is a little too cool toned for me, but I do think that it starts to show up on my skin and it looks really nice and pretty. So if you want that little light glow as well as bronze look, I think this is a good bronzer for that. I'm also going to contour my forehead so that I can make it a little smaller. Though the good thing about this is that it does apply smooth, so maybe when they say that it does give you a cream texture, it could be true. Now next we're moving on to the only highlighter in this collection, which is called the Let's Toast highlighter in the shade Champagne. So I believe it should be a universal shade of highlighter that looks good on all skin tones, be it very deep or very pale. And we'll see that very soon. Now this is in the same packaging. It's a beautiful design on the highlighter. I'm actually going to be zooming in the highlighter so you can see the tone. And on the other side is obviously the brush and also the mirror. So let's just try and apply this shade and see if it really shows up on my skin tone. Just swirled it in and I'm going to start to apply it on the top of my cheek. I want to see if it really starts to show. Okay, so the highlighter is blinding. Let's just say that's how it is. But there's a problem. So it is very cool toned again. And for a skin tone like mine, you can definitely see where the highlighter is sitting. It's starting to accentuate the shade of the highlighter rather than the shimmer effect. So it's almost sitting like a pink blob of highlighter, which is not something that I enjoy, even though it gives you that shimmer. It's a little too pigmented for my skin tone. So I would say this is probably good for somebody with a pale skin tone and maybe a medium light, but anything from a medium to a deeper skin tone, I think this would be a no-go. If you want to still try and use it, you could use it to maybe highlight the Cupid's bow or also the inner corners of your eye, but I'm not enjoying the pigment so much. Now I did apply it on my Cupid's bow, and if you can see, it almost sits like a mustache. and not really a highlighter. It's very, very pigmented. Uh, Maybe go with a very light hand, or actually I went with my finger, but it's still pigmented. Uh, so my thoughts are that I'm not going to be using this too much. Maybe you could use it as an eyeshadow topper, but you have a lot of those. So going in with a complete highlighter for an eyeshadow topper would be too much, I guess. But I think that is what it is. Now, both the products from the Bread and Butter collection did not really work for me, but they may be good for you if you're paler than I am. So did I enjoy it? No, sorry. So this was all for my review of the latest and the greatest from Drugstore makeup. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will see you in my next video. But until then, you take care, love yourself, and enjoy the summer. Bye!